Good morning. There's a saying that goes, you don't fuck people on your way to the top of journalism. Fuck over people. And with that pithy aphorism, I want to tell you a story. I'm here in Greenville, South Carolina, and about as far away as you can get from the news media industrial complex. So a year ago, I became fascinated with the idea of academic paper mills. People that commit academic fraud for money. The idea that if you have enough money, you can pay someone to complete all your college assignments for you, essentially buying a degree. And I found this career deeply interesting, that below the surface lurked an entire business model of completing entire people's college degrees for cash. So I went about trying to find somebody who did this kind of academic paper mill professionally. Eventually I found somebody on Craigslist. We corresponded a little bit. He gave me his name, Mo, and I tracked him down on Facebook. He had a little business Facebook page where I could continue to find leads and potential student customers. Eventually we went back and forth for 2, 3, I believe it was even 4 weeks at the time. It was a long time, but I eventually goaded him into agreeing to an interview with me where I could ask him any questions I want. A recorded interview. The role of any good journalist is to ultimately convince the subject the story is in their best interest, when in reality the story is always in the interest of the viewer. Your loyalty as a journalist is to the edification or entertainment of your readers, not the subject. But a good journalist will convince the subject that it is in their best interest to talk to you, even when sometimes it's not, which in this case, it was not. So, back to me convincing Mo to talk to me. We get on a Skype interview, I hit record, and I begin to ask him questions. First, I wanted to know, how did he get into this business? Which was fascinating to me. He started as a petroleum engineer, where the money was good, but he hated the job. So he gave it up and decided to tutor because he liked helping people. And his tutoring business was okay, but it didn't pay the same as a petroleum engineer. And his wife and himself liked to enjoy a certain standard of living. And he realized if he gently nudged students with the idea that, well, rather than me just help you with your linear algebraic formulas, I could just complete the My Math Lab course for an extra couple $1,000s, and you could get a good grade and not have to worry about it. And instantly he found there were many, many, many students willing to take him up on the offer. And so began the rabbit hole of becoming a professional academic paper mill, committing academic fraud. And what started out as small became large. He now has 4 part-time employees to cover all range of subjects you can imagine. He has a math guy that will focus specifically on math. He has a history, Western Civ guy that will focus specifically on the humanities. Oh, it's a shadow here. Let me turn around. I asked him what his wife thought about this. He said his wife was not a fan of him doing other people's college coursework, but the money was good, and she wasn't complaining because when he was a petroleum engineer, he made good money, but then when he switched to a tutor, the money went down quite a bit. I asked him what his parents thought. His parents said, well, they don't really know what I'm doing, but the money's come in, so they don't ask too many questions. But I continued to goad him. I said, can I really believe you? How much money are you making? And he eventually revealed to me he makes around $250,000 a year. And I said, that's a lot of money. Let me see some receipts. And his openness and willingness to show me the emails he had just sent off a paper on completing somebody's essay on John Locke and the rights of man. He had done some math homework. And there were endless invoices of Cash Apps and Venmos, $100, $200, $1,000 for a biology course lab. Everything was right there. He was showing me his bank statements, his invoices, recent essays he had just submitted to students, student names, universities he was working for that, provided the bulk. Oh, there's 50 students at the University of Alabama and 20 students up in New Hampshire. He showed me all this information that I found deeply satisfying and recorded and took down. Eventually, it was time for us to end our interview. We said our cordial goodbyes. I think he enjoyed it at the time. And after we hung up, I set about starting my story, writing my publication, building out my video. And when I finally went to publish it, it was on a large enough platform that other people would start to see it. And now there were consequences for Mo. Big consequences, possibly, for Mo. You see, it was a large enough publication where now his wife might see his name in the paper, or his parents. And they might not like the idea that he's now known nationally as a guy who commits academic fraud. And what about the IRS? You see, earlier in the interview, he had said, well, I still file as a tutor for my taxes, and I maybe don't claim everything I should because it's so much, cash and such a pain in the neck. Well, now the IRS might pay attention, and he might get in some trouble there with his tax problems. So suddenly he has personal problems and economic, financial problems. These are a whole host of problems that I didn't have to deal with. All I saw was that it was getting great traction with my readers. But to Mo, the story was different. To Mo, it was painful. And the first thing he did was disavow our entire conversation. His Facebook page released a statement that said, no, this was the person I spoke to was a fake Mo, it was fake news, an imposter, not the real Mo, which is not true. I have video evidence of all the bank statements. I know where he lives, where his family is, his last name, what students he has as customers. And the whole thing revealed to me that with any good story, there's the possibility of torching an average man's reputation. Because at the end of the day, he slid into this career. He started as a petroleum engineer, then became a tutor, and eventually wound up wanting to make more money and so committing academic fraud. He wasn't a bad man, just a man that maybe had made some poor decisions. Nonetheless, now he had problems, immediate problems in his life. My point, if I can be articulate for a moment, is that you will find yourself inevitably torching an average person's reputation in the pursuit of continuing your journalism career. And it's something I still think about. I still think about Mo from time to time, how he's doing, if he's in trouble with the IRS, if his relationship with his wife is still going well, or what his kids will think when they inevitably read his name in the paper 20 years from now as they grow up and Google him. I wonder what they'll think. But as journalism is, it's on to the next story, and the next story, leaving behind our subjects to sort out whatever we left them to deal with. Which gets to that saying at the beginning, you don't fuck people on the way to the top of journalism, you fuck over people. Something to think about. If you like this video, like, subscribe. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.